Hello, hello. Welcome back for the final time to the Pink Floyd Completion Project. 52 videos, many albums, and now it's all come down to where we rank 15 glorious studio albums. Well, when I say 15 glorious studio albums, I mean like 7. Nah, I'm just kidding. But you know, it's come that time today. We rank Pink Floyd's albums. I don't have all of these on physical media, but I do have all of the ones I have on CD right here, and we're going to get into it. I don't have visual aids for all of these, of course. But starting off at the bottom of the pile, Amagama. It's a dog shit live disc paired with an even worse studio disc with nothing of value apart from maybe Careful with That Axe, Eugene. And the only thing mildly interesting on it is also really fucking annoying. Several species of small furry animals gathered together in a cave and grooving with a pict. It truly is a marvel of 1968 studio production. However, its length really drags it down, and the subpar material on the rest of the studio disc is just bad. It's just bad. Outright. Some people might say that this is their favorite Floyd album. I'm going to tell you right now, you're wrong. You're just trying to be different. You really like Adam Hartmother. But anyway, it's bad. If it was a Frank Zappa song, it wouldn't be 5 goddamn minutes long. All right, less happens on the studio disc of Amagama than happens in the course of 10 minutes of Frank Zappa. That's what I'm going to say there. Number 14 is More. Right? Again, this is not necessarily a bad album. Amagama is the only album on this list that I would consider to be outright bad. More just doesn't do a whole lot for me. It's got 3 songs that I remember from it. Everything else is just a blur. Cymbeline sounds like David Gilmour is doing a David Bowie impression. More Blues is pretty cool, and the Nile song is actually pretty fucking good. But apart from that, it's really nothing special. Not really. Again, not bad, just overall not all that interesting. Coming in at number 13, I know I'm going to catch hell for this one. It's Saucerful. It's Saucerful of Secrets. I am sorry, right? But in my heart, I just can't rank it any higher, just because of the experience of listening to this album. Of course, you have Let There Be More Light, and of course you have Set the Controls for the Heart of the Song, and of course the heartbreaking Jugman Blues. But at the end of the day, as a whole package, it doesn't really come together for me. I'm sorry. The title track is too damn long and nothing happens. It's the first fiddlings of the musical incoherence that would come to just dominate Amagama, and I'm sorry, I don't like it. Of course, it does have the first contributions from David Gilmour on the guitar, and it's wonderful, and of course it does contain Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun, which is the only time all 5 Pink Floyd members have played on the same track together. But that's where I have to leave it. Saucerful of Secrets has to come in at number 13. Coming in at number 12 is The Endless River. I know it might be a sin for some people for me to rank this above Saucerful of Secrets, but I just feel more of a connection with the music. I'm I feel like some of these, if they'd had actual lyrics written for them, Endless River certainly could have been something great, and it turned out to be something a little bit meh. We're 10 years removed from its release, and there's only been one this new studio track from Pink Floyd since, and I don't even technically consider that a Pink Floyd song. I consider that a David Gilmour song that Nick Mason happened to play on. I feel like just as an experience, I have to rank it above Saucerful, because there's clear musical ideas and there's clear directions that could have taken. It's just a shame that winds up being the finale to Pink Floyd's discography rather than the previous album, The Division Bell. Coming in at number 11, Adam Hartmother. Again, not a bad album. I just do find the title track to be a little bit uninteresting at times. I'm sorry. It's just not what I'm looking for when it comes to a Pink Floyd album. Summer 68 is amazing. And, of course, Fat Old Son comes in. And, of course, later on became a staple of David Gilmour's solo shows. Again, not a bad album. It's just, as a whole package, it, once again, doesn't really come together for me. Alright? Like, again, not a bad album. It's just okay. Alright? Coming in at number 10, The Final Cut. I do actually like this album a decent amount. I know I shat on it in my review, but I do actually somewhat enjoy this album. I just don't listen to it all that frequently. Again, I know that some people really, really love this album. But for me, it's just the beginnings of Roger Waters not really being able to write relevant stuff anymore. Alright, and again, it contains some very good ideas, it's just nothing happens. And of course, the absence of Rick Wright is sorely, sorely missed. However, the post-war dream, When the Tiger's Throat Broke Free, the Gunner's Dream, and of course, Not Now John, are certainly highlights for me. It truly, again, just a mildly incoherent concept, and it just overall as a package doesn't come together 100% for me. And Piper at the Gates of Dawn isn't a whole lot better. I could really switch these either way. I just don't connect a whole lot with 1960s psychedelia. If I want 1960s psychedelia, I'm gonna listen to The Doors. I'm like, okay, alright, but of course this album does contain Astronomy, Dawnomy, and Interstellar Overdrive, and Bike, and many, many early gems. It's just an album that I don't find myself having the desire to listen to all that often. It's, again, not a bad album. I think it's a great album, and I feel like it's a sin to rank it in ninth place. But just as a whole album experience, it doesn't really come together for me. Once again, I'm sorry. That's just how I feel about it. And it's, again, I don't hate it. I think it's a damn good album. It just doesn't really, I don't really connect 100% with it. Coming in at number 8 is Obscured by Clouds. Arguably Pink Floyd's most forgotten album and their most underrated album. I truly think that there's quite a decent amount of stuff on Obscured by Clouds. Just part of it is the album itself is slightly forgettable. I can't really remember any distinct moments from it, apart from Prototype Time, which is what I call it. And again, it's the one where it's like, the memories of a man in his old age are the thoughts of a man in his prime. It's that one. And again, that's really the only thing I truly remember, apart from the first two songs, which really feel like we're going to the place that's the best, that song. But it's, again, wonderful album, very high quality material on it, and it's a miracle that something that good was recorded in just 4 weeks. Coming in at number 7, Animals. This album does indeed come together 100% as a concept for me, right? It's just, I do certainly feel an absence of both Rick and Nick on this album, especially this mix. Again, I haven't really taken the time to go and listen to the 2018 remaster. I've heard good things, I just haven't taken the time. Of course, the standout song here is Dog, 17 minutes of glorious David Gilmour and Roger Waters collaboration. Pretty much the last time we would see them collaborate well. Or not the last time. One of the last times we would truly see them collaborate well before The Wall came in. And of course, Pigs has aged majestically well. Every single song here has aged majestically well. And of course, you have Pigs on the Wing, which pretty much became the basis for all of Roger's songs after he left Pink Floyd, apart from, obviously, on Amused to Death. Just joking, but not really. Again, great album, right? Again, it's in the top 10. It's in the top 10. It's at number 7, for God's sake. It just doesn't quite crack the top 5 for me. Coming in at number 6, A Momentary Lapse of Reason. Some people might consider it a sin to rank this above Animals, or above any album that Roger Waters was involved with. But it truly does embody the spirit of Pink Floyd, even though Nick and Rick's contributions to it are minimal. But it has Learning to Fly, Dogs of War, One Slip, right? And On the Turning Away, and of course, Sorrow. One of David Gilmour's greatest songs. One of very few he has written entirely on his own. And I believe the first song he wrote entirely on his own, without any help from anybody, since fucking, I don't know, Fat Old Son? Again, almost 20 years separate those two songs, and it really shows how much David grew as a musician and as a writer in those 20 years. It really, really does. Coming in at number 5, we've hit the top 5 now. The Division Bell. Truly a wonderful experience, and this is truly Pink Floyd's swan song. I love this album. I love this album so much. It was the last album I listened to while I was still doing a musical at my high school, and I have a lot of problems with the people who did the musical at my high school, but that's neither here nor there. But again, a striking album cover, a wonderful collection of songs, and not a single piece of filler. You've got Dave and Rick jamming together on both Cluster 1 and Marooned. You've got Take It Back, the wonderful Keep Talking, the amazing Wearing the Inside Out, and of course the jizz-worthy High Hopes. It's just such a wonderful, wonderful time. It truly, truly is. But it doesn't quite beat out the two of the greatest songs ever written on metal. I mean, obviously, any album containing both One of These Days and Echoes, any album containing Echoes alone, is gonna beat the fucking shit out of A Momentary Lapse of Reason and The Division Bell, because it's fucking Echoes, man. 23 glorious minutes of pure fucking excellence. Takes up the entire second side on the vinyl copy, and along with it, you've got 5 extra songs, 2 of which are pretty damn good, and then 3 of which are Like, again, like, One of These Days, Fearless, and Echoes really, really save this album to a degree. It's a wonderful, wonderful listen, though. Again, Pillow of Wind, Saint-Tropez, and Seamus truly do provide some balance between the heavy One of These Days and the majestic Echoes. And I do believe that this definitely deserves the number 4 spot. Coming in at number 3, A Process of Elimination. This is where it might start getting quite controversial. But coming in at number 3, Wish You Were Here. Come on. All killer, no filler. Shine On You Crazy Diamond, Welcome to the Machine, Have a Cigar, the title track, and of course Shine On You Crazy Diamond Parts 6 to 9. Shine On You Crazy Diamond being the beautiful tribute to Sid that it is. Welcome to the Machine and Have a Cigar being the fuck yous to the record industry that screwed up Sid. And of course, Wish You Were Here, a more straightforward way of saying that they really do wish they hadn't lost Sid. And wonderful musical moments throughout the whole thing. Welcome to the Machine is one of the most haunting songs ever written. And Shine On You Crazy Diamond is quite possibly one of the best songs ever written in the history of the world. It's just majestic. The whole thing is majestic. Again, I almost ranked this above the next one. But the next one, you know what the next one is. Dark Side of the Moon. Come on. If there is a factual greatest album of all time, this is it. Perfectly executed from Speak to Me through to Eclipse. A glorious, glorious masterpiece. This will be listened to Like, first of all, it came out 51 years ago, and it's going to be listened to 50 years in the future, and 50 years after that, and 50 years after that. This is truly one of mankind's most immortal works. It's been over 50 years, and it's still relevant. And of course, it has the most iconic album cover of all time. Every college student's favorite poster. And again, it will be mocked as that overrated, underrated album. But come on, it's still a little bit underrated. Because a lot of people really only know this cover, and a lot of people, especially in my generation, have never heard this album. And I believe that this is one of those albums that you need to hear before you die. I truly, truly do. And while this next one is not one of those albums that I feel like you need to hear before you die, it's definitely one of those albums that just truly comes together 100% perfectly for me, and that's saying something because Dark Side of the Moon does that as well. It's The Wall. A double album of Roger Waters essentially talking about his daddy issues, but it contains so many good songs. Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, Mother, Young Lust, Goodbye Blue Sky, Run Like Hell, In the Flesh, and just, the fucking Jizzworthy, the origin point of the greatest guitar solo ever written, the greatest song ever written, Comfortably Numb, comes from this album. And the whole other thing is wonderful. In the Flesh is one of the best album openers of all time. The run from In the Flesh to Mother is possibly the most perfect side in the history of records if you subtract Dark Side of the Moon from the equation. This is my favorite album of all time. Let alone my Pink Floyd album, my favorite Pink Floyd album. This is my favorite album of all time. 45 years, and this album, it's going to connect in the same way as Dark Side of the Moon has connected with people. I'm very sure. This album has been pretty much my favorite album, period, since I was 14. It is glorious. It is glorious. And that is my ranking of Pink Floyd albums. Please let me know if you agree or disagree and how you would rank these differently in the comment section down below. If you want to continue along my musical journeys with me, please feel free to subscribe. If you want to hear me talk about something other than music, I have a podcast with two of my buddies. It's called Dorkies. I will leave a link to that in the description down below. And if you want to hear what I happen to be listening to that day, or a 15-second segment at least, you can follow me on Instagram at Sean_Heaster1979. I post a 15-second segment of a song on my story there every single day. I have truly loved making this project. Doing this over the last however long, 6-7 months. This is, I do feel like this is an accomplishment, and I've had to listen to some shit, and what I've learned is essentially David Gilmour and Rick Wright are 75% of Pink Floyd's sound, and Roger Waters is like 50% of the lyrics. That's my opinion. I don't really feel like I have time to elaborate here. People came here to see me rank these albums. But thank you all very much for watching. And I will see you all in the next video, where I will introduce the next series of videos that I will be doing. Thank you all very much for watching, and goodbye.